Welcome to a brand new episode of Super Lady Hero Hour here on Fanversation. I'm Yel Teagle. I'm joined as always by the incredible KB. Hello, KB.
Hello to the lovely Yell. I hope your day has been going exceptionally as well as can be expected. And thank you to everyone for joining us on National Superhero Day.
Yes, what an exciting day to be doing a superhero show. I
Right on
love it
time per
today.
usual.
Yeah, perfect. Today we are discussing more of Amazon's Invincible. We have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale to discuss, a new episode of Black Lightning and Supergirl. But first, it is time for the news. Let's get into some headlines. I know there's a big one. The Black Widow featurette has been dropped. It is currently linked below if you want to check it out on Fanversation's website. I know that I'm very excited about this film. KB, you are less excited about this film.
I will always be less excited. But everyone again knows I'm a huge fan of Rachel Weisz, so I am mostly excited to see her performance and the introduction of her character. But my excitement truly is really built on timelines. I mean, my lack of excitement rather is truly built on timelines and whether or not this is necessary. But we're gonna find out. And also, to be fair, I am excited about Florence being the new Black Widow, essentially, and how they're going to utilize her character moving forward. So I am excited about those things. But yeah, I mean, like pretty much at this point, I'm like, just give us the film. Because it's been pushed and pushed and pushed. So I don't need any more featurettes. Pretty much just want to see it. That's where I am.
I agree. I don't need this featurette either. I would like to see the film, though. I would like to see it, please.
Yes, please, please. So apart from that, and we will soon be getting our wish once the film does drop. But next up, DC fandom, which actually is going to be kind of a little bit of an anniversary for us at Superhero Lady Hour, because that is how we kicked off our first show. We kicked off our show with the OG original DC fandom, and it is coming back this October. I'm actually super excited about this because I thought that DC fandom was probably the best virtual event to come out at that time. We were knee deep in this pandemic, knee deep in Zoom life. Now we are kind of Zoom experts, so to speak. But that was the first big, I feel like, convention, because it's not like a traditional convention, but it was the first big one that really went forward, and it was done so seamlessly, and the timing was perfect, and we got a lot of good scoop and news. And so what we can expect from this October, naturally, will be more on the Batman, of course. I assume more on Black Adam. There should be more on Shazam, Fury of the Gods. The Flash film should give us some more tidbits. HBO's Peacemaker should make a cameo. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. So the Suicide Squad will already have been out, so I doubt we're going to talk about that anymore, unless they're going to announce something else that might come out of that feature. Who knows? How are you feeling about DC fandom?
Yeah, like you said, last year's fandom was the best virtual fan experience that happened through the pandemic. It was so well done that I'm actually looking forward to doing it again, like very much. But I also was like, oh, it seems like a lot of it is stuff that was teased last year but hasn't come out yet. So it's the same stuff almost, but with more information, I guess. So like Black Adam, which last season or last year gave us artwork, now has a cast that we've been talking about all year long. So hopefully there's footage. Like that's what would be nice, is if we could get some footage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're filming right now, so we'll definitely should expect that. Shazam, also in the works, definitely should expect footage. HBO's Peacemaker started filming a while back, so
Yeah.
quite frankly, I think that we'll get a release date, plus a trailer, if not more footage. And then, The Flash is in the works. I feel like we'll probably get less on that the Batman is done, so I think that we're going to get a lot more. And to be quite honest, the Batman's reveal in that first DC fandom was so good, and they basically had done nothing. Like, I mean, you know, they had done a
Right.
little bit of shooting, but like what Matt was able to pull off in that like short period of time was literally exceptional, in my opinion. I was so hyped for it. Now the film is done. They had a couple of COVID issues, so they had to stop production and start it back up. But now it's completely done. And it is coming out in 2022, probably, I think around 6 months after this. So I expect this to be very heavy on like the Batman and Black Adam and things like that, but in ways where we can actually see footage now. And so that'll be exciting. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah, so October 16th, you guys be on the lookout. So, in more Marvel news, Ironheart, as we know, is going to come to Disney Plus sometime soon. It is about the iconic character Riri Williams and Dominique from Judas and the Black Messiah, who is wildly talented, has taken on the titular role. Where now we do have a writer. Woo woo. Finally, we have a head writer for Ironheart, and shout out, it is a Black woman. She is a playwright, and she also wrote on Snowpiercer, and her name is Shanaka Hodge. So I'm super excited about that. And you know, there's been some speculation on how many episodes we're going to have. Obviously, we are going to discuss the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but that was only 6 episodes. And, you know, WandaVision was 9, which is seemingly an odd choice. So there have been talks of either doing 6, 9, or 10 episodes of Ironheart. I don't know the formula here. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this because I was introduced to Ironheart in the Marvel Rising series, the animated series on, I want to say it was Disney XD, but I knew it from the Marvel HQ YouTube channel. So I'm very excited for an Ironheart series and to see where that goes. I feel like that is the kind of show because it feels younger to me. It feels like it should be a longer series. It should be a full, let's say 10 to 12 episode season 1 with an intention for season 2. I want a series and not a limited event. That is what I want.
Well, I don't know. You know, I am curious to see if they are only thinking about these TV shows in limited context because they're
Right.
tying into the films in greater ways, which actually, I'm not going to lie, is more intriguing to me. The idea that it's kind of a one and done, and then when something else comes up, that could potentially be a series that introduce the characters and then you bring them into the feature film fold is actually quite exciting to me because it's unique and it's fresh, and we don't have to, you know, keep up with things for multiple seasons. You watch it for what it is, you introduce the characters, you get a solid base, and then you throw them kind of into this cinematic universe that you are continuing to build as you fly the plane, essentially. So I think that could be an intriguing concept. Like, I don't necessarily need season 2 of anything from this Marvel series aspects. I just needed to tie in well enough, which we
Mm.
haven't seen quite yet. So,
Yeah, I understand.
well, lastly, you know, it is no secret, but Captain America 4 is happening. And it will be happening with Sam Wilson. And so, you know, we are going to get into the finale here shortly. But yeah, it is officially confirmed. And I don't know what that means. I'll leave it for us to discuss the finale because I don't know what this fourth film means. So
Yeah,
there we are.
I'm excited for it, but we'll get to it. We will get to that discussion in a bit.
Yes, yes. All right, so before we dive in, this is your full spoiler warning. We are going to spoil everything. If you have not watched these shows, please come back to our YouTube channel and rewatch this, but only after you have watched the 4 shows that we're going to talk about. So first, we are going to dive into Supergirl. Here is the quick cap for episode 5, Prom Night. Mia and Brainy attempt to save Supergirl from the Phantom Zone by time traveling back to Kara's home in 2000 helped Supergirl profile. So
Have I frozen?
not to crashes in the small town, and quite frankly, you actually didn't even need to watch that episode, because if you just sat through that quick cap, that's literally everything that happened. So there we are. How are you feeling about this episode?
Honestly, I really enjoyed this episode. As we said before, I love this time travel back to the late 90s, early 2000s. I think that's fun. I like that we did not deal with Kara actually in the Phantom Zone. We dealt with everybody else dealing with it. I like the explanation of why it was Nia and Brainy. That made sense. They're the only people that weren't there, so that makes sense to me. I really enjoyed it. I think young Kara and young Alex were so accurate to their personalities. Like young Alex was a stick in the mud, and it's perfect because right before we leave the present, she's a stick in the mud. So like it's really nice to see it all tie together. I think the whole extra storyline of the other aliens being there felt like an unnecessary addition. That like we had enough drama and things to do that we didn't need that whole other thing, but we'll see how that plays out. What did you think about this episode?
This episode was pretty boring to me, I'll be quite honest. We traveled back to 2009, which actually is not that long ago. So we traveled back to 2009, and I don't know, somehow they made this time traveling adventure even more unnecessary and kind of useless for me in terms of like the overarching storyline to where are we going headed to the series finale. Still don't know, like truly don't know. I know that we need to get Kara out of the Phantom Zone. I appreciated not being in the Phantom Zone, but I think something that they're really struggling with this season is making these episodes longer than they have to be. So like next episode, we're still going to be in Midvale in 2009,
Yeah.
and that's wildly unnecessary. Like I feel like nothing happened this episode that was truly revolutionary, and we could have combined those two episodes just like we could have combined those two Phantom Zone episodes. Like I just feel like we're wasting a lot of time. There's still not a lot of clarity on what this means long term for the end of Supergirl, and quite frankly, all of this back work could have been done in season 1 or season 2 that we're seeing. I do agree, though, like young Kara, young Alex are super fun. Seeing them in their true state, in their true forms, and coming full circle is awesome. I mean, it is kind of like, have y'all grown at all, though? I did kind of question that a little bit because they are very much the same. So that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I guess kind of overall, I was like, okay, well, we're in Midvale. Can we like speed it along and get to present again and how this ties into where we're going this season? Yeah, I just didn't feel like it did any of that for me. Nia, kind of attempting not to alter the timeline, but still sort of doing it. It was like, oh, okay. And Brady's still dealing, kind of with his emotional issues, still in the mix of it. I kind of was like, oh, I was hoping that would almost take a backseat so that we could truly address what's happening with Kara in the Phantom Zone. But it didn't. So, yeah, I mean, for me, this wasn't an episode that I really enjoyed that much.
Wow.
Maybe what will happen, though, because I love time travel. I adore it. So, maybe what will happen for me is that I'll like the next episode better because I will feel like it will answer the questions or bring kind of the story. It'll be more full and complete versus kind of, what we have now, which really was just like a Kara hanging out with her friends and Brandy always getting roped into these high school extracurriculars.
Right. I agree. I love a time travel episode. I don't need it to be two though. Like it's one of those things you love it because it's so rare and so like, you know, you use it and it's special, but a two-parter? Like what are you doing? No. I agree the whole Brainy's emotional stress, his stress eating and then his how do you express stress thing, like I didn't need any of that. I really was not a fan. Nia dealing with her mom, I'm at least glad that it's tying into her whole story. Like it would have been weird if she like all of a sudden was like, "Oh, I want to call my mom," but like, yes, we've been dealing with yes, she misses her mom. Um, and then again, like this other alien that captures them at the end, I was like, why?
Why? Exactly. Why? Also, what does this mean for the future? Please, y'all, answer that question. Because we are at the end of this series, not just like nearing the end of a season. And I'm still like, what is the point? Truly. Like, when we get to the end, what will I think about Supergirl as a series?
Right.
And also seeing young Cat Grant, cool. I liked that the actress that they picked had a lot of the same ambition, and even like her dialect and her tone was very, very similar to Callista Flockhart. And so I actually loved that. I thought that the casting was really great, but also, what is
right? So. I do like this idea that Cat and Lois Lane have like a rivalry that's in Cat's head. Like I love that idea. That's fun. I kind of hope that Superman and Lois kind of at some point just brings up something. Like remember that time that you and Cat used to like be at each other's throats and now you guys are friends? Like something like that would be fun. Like remember when you were competitive but then like realized you'd be better together? Yeah. Something would be nice. Yeah, I think the only other thing that I enjoyed was this other character that they reminded us of this whole other storyline with the sheriff and the drugs. And then I love at the beginning when Alex was like, no, that's a different Earth. Like, nope, that never happened now. And I'm like, I like this. It's wild and dumb and I like it. But then this actor, he was great and his character was great. And I'm like, why would we waste such a great kid? I want more of this man. What happened? Why did they break up? Like, they could have stayed friends. I mean, where is he in the future?
Listen, I don't know. I mean, he also was a genius, so it would be nice to have him in the future to help solve his problems. But
anyway.
So.
All right.
All right, so how are you rating this episode? Which I think I know because you had way more fun than I did. So
I'm giving this episode a kitten. For those who are new here, we rate things on a scale from poop to kittens, and I'm giving it a kitten. What about you?
I am giving it poop because I did not have fun, and
at all.
I did not like the amount of fun I've had doesn't even warrant a spoon. Honestly, like I liked the casting of Cat Grant. I liked Kara's friendship. It's sad to see that somehow dissipated because, okay. And I like that, they got the casting right, but ultimately it really doesn't tie into anything for me. Like, sure. I'm like, where are we going? What does this mean? So again, I know myself well, and I feel like I will definitely like next episode better. Because not only will it deal with time travel, but it'll make sense and it'll answer questions and it'll push us forward. So, that's where I'm at. Any predictions for next week?
Yeah, I predict that we get back to the present. And I predict that we save Kara from the Phantom Zone. I predict that anything that we did in the past doesn't actually change anything in the present. So it's not like when the Flash goes back and changes Diggle's kid on a different show. I assume that they're going to return and nothing will have changed.
So I actually disagree. So besides me thinking that next episode, yes, we can finally get some answers and move forward, I don't necessarily think that we will save Kara from the Phantom Zone next episode. I think that might be 2 away, especially based on the pace that we are currently going this season. And I also think that there will be something, whether they recognize it immediately or not, I do think there will be something in time that is manipulated that will cause a ripple.
Well, I hope it's the guy. I hope he joins that.
I know, right? I hope he comes back and he joins the team, or maybe he becomes like, I don't know, the love of someone's life. But, we don't have enough time for that because the series is ending.
Right. All right. Next, we will be discussing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale. Here is the quick cap for One World, One People. As the Flag Smashers escalate their efforts, Sam and Bucky take action. Um, what a vague quick cap. It's like the polar opposite of the Supergirl ones.
Yeah, the Supergirl one was literally like 3 paragraphs, and I was like, wow, I'm so thirsty. And then here's this one, which is one sentence at best.
Yep.
I love it.
All right, what did you think of this episode?
Um, I am glad it was the finale. I am glad that we finally got a lot of the answers that we were seeking. I think it was great in that regard. I still think the fight sequences are top notch, and I will always be appreciative of them. But I do think the more intriguing storylines pretty much started in episode 4. And now we're here, and I still don't quite understand how the two co-leads have the least interesting characters to me.
Yeah.
I'm still heavily invested in Sharon and I, love that she got a pardon after killing Carly and after it was revealed that she is indeed the power broker. So shout out to Yell, who definitely called that a few episodes back. And then I confirmed it. I confirmed it last episode with the French man. I was like, no, that happened. I was like, this is how you know she is the power broker. So when they said it, was not surprising because they had dropped the clues. But what is surprising is that now Sharon is back in the good graces of the U.S. government and is also still the power broker. And I'm more intrigued in that story because she has the trust of Sam and the trust of Bucky and the trust of the U.S. government, but also is a power broker and wants to start selling not super soldiers, or not just super soldiers, but weapons and everything on the black market. And I'm like, shout out. I love this storyline. And again, still more intriguing than Bucky's entire storyline this season. And Sam, no surprise, is the new Captain America, which we've been building up to this whole time. And yeah. So, how did you feel about this episode?
I agree with you. I think that the Sharon storyline is the most interesting of the entire series. I can't believe I was right. That almost never happens. So I'm very excited. Especially on a show where, like, if you remember WandaVision, every week people were on the internet with like, here's what this means, and this means this, and predicting left, right, and center, all of these things. And this show just went, yeah, I feel like this is it. and it was.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I do appreciate that, and I do like where that's going, and I'm interested, and I can't wait to see it. But I agree with you. Bucky's storyline was kind of sad, like boringly sad. Yes, it was clear from the beginning. You said it. It was clear that Sam was headed towards being the new Captain America. That was the whole point of the show, was to get him to accept the shield. I would have preferred where I thought it was going, which was the idea that we get rid of this concept of a Captain America. Like, I thought that was the whole point, was we'd be like, no, we don't need that. We have other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because, when he meets with Isaiah at the end of the episode, and Isaiah's like, of course you're going to be Captain America, like, I always knew you would be. That's exactly how I felt. Isaiah was like, I knew I couldn't talk you out of it. I knew my experiences wouldn't sway you, and I knew that no matter the amount of advice that I would give you, you would be here. And so I think even Sam's sister Sarah mentioned something to that effect too, like, oh, so you didn't listen to Isaiah? And he's like, no, I'm going to do things my own way. And we're like, yes, we all know this. But when Sam takes Isaiah to the Captain America Museum and, shows him kind of that portion that honors him, I was like, cool, but he deserves reparations and a clear record and, like 3 million other things. Like,
right.
You being in this museum, okay, where is the money? Where's the restoration of his life? Where's the apology? There are so many other things that he needs that don't involve this museum.
It's so funny that you say it, because I was like, okay, so it's been a week, 2 weeks. How did this museum get all of this done so quickly? It sounds like there was money. Why didn't the money go to the person whose life they ruined? Also, if I understood correctly, Isaiah's like technically considered dead. Like the world thinks he's dead.
Yes. Yeah,
Maybe
that's why I was like, we need
give him
we
his
need to
life
unearth
back.
that. Like, right, yes. And also, for me it was really like Sam knows more than anyone, as we saw in the very first episode, which we don't come back to. Is just that it doesn't matter if you're a superhero, if you're black, life is still the same. Sam is still being profiled by the police. He still cannot get a loan at the bank.
Right.
He still has no money because they're not paying him. So it was interesting to me that you were like so gung ho about getting this museum thing, but there's no money for him and his family. Would you also essentially, Sam, are poor because you too do not get paid? Like, you don't have a job. That's the reality. You work for America. That's mad big because you still cannot pay your rent. And I'm confused because I'm like, what? So, yeah, I don't know.
That
I
said,
felt like the most fun. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you finish your thought.
Well, I was just gonna say that said, I feel like the most fun that they had was at the end when the boat's restored and they're having that party, and Bucky brings a cake and it's so exciting, and yet no one is remembering the fact that they can afford nothing in this country that they serve as superheroes. And so I was like, I guess y'all having a good time. I don't know, but
yeah, I think the best part of the episode was that, and getting to hear Sam speak to the people who can make the decisions, and do it, and speak to the public with the cameras rolling. I did like that scene. It scenes like that always make me sad, because I live in the real world where like someone giving this powerful speech that needs to be heard doesn't help the real world. Like it really bums me out every time, not to take our whole show down this sad hole, but like every time I'm like, oh, that's nice. Too bad this is fiction.
well, I mean, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention. So, this entire time we are building up this kind of, I guess, well, I think what they were intending to do was build up this big fight between the Flag Smashers and America. I'm just going to say that because Team America, or whatever we're going to call it.
Sure.
And Carly is really not the villain. Like, she wants a better world. She has a larger plan. And we knew she was going to die in the beginning of the episode, mostly because she kept saying, if I die, it's fine. And I was like, okay, well, sure, we know what's coming. At the hands of Sharon, makes sense. Like, I could see that because she was going to expose her, and you have to kind of get rid of the person who knows your secret identity and your weaknesses, and they're just not on the same page anymore. So, like, makes sense. But do I feel like Carly as a character needed to die? And do I also feel like she needed to die in a fight with Sam? Because essentially she was fighting with Sam, and then, Sharon just stepped in and shot her. But I'm like, Sam kept saying, I don't want to fight you. Like, it's not about you. I actually believe in the things that you're saying. And then he's like holding her when he didn't care about Sharon. Sharon's been shot. He didn't care. He's like holding Carly at the end, like, oh my gosh, when Sharon is his friend. And he's like, I'm more concerned about Carly because he believes in what she represents. And so I'm like, well, that feels like a waste too. But I don't know. I mean, I guess the good news is the other Flag Smashers are still alive and now free because,
Well, if I understood correctly, so Zemo's butler blew them up.
No. So I think, so what I interpreted, and this could be wrong, is that the person who puts them, like, I interpreted this way. So remember the person that put them into the prison van, I'm just going to call it that because I don't know what it's called, said the one world, one people, like, I'm on your side. What I thought happened was that he let them escape. And then Zemo's person blew up the truck, but I think that they got out. I think that was the point of saying one world, one people. Like, you think that, like, oh, at first you think that they're going to get whatever's coming to them and what to do, and Zemo's in prison. But I think that, like, by him saying one world, one people, that was meant to be like, okay, I'm going to let y'all go. And we're going to blow it up and we're going to make it seem like you guys are dead.
Sure.
But really you're not.
I interpreted it the opposite, where he was like, don't worry, the cause is still alive. I've got your back. And then Zemo, who hates super soldiers, was like, I'm going to kill these people by blowing them up because we can't have more super soldiers. So let us know in the
Guess we're
comment
gonna
where
find
you
out.
stand.
Yeah, I know. It's funny that we're on the opposite sides because I made it. I thought it was completely staged on purpose because there's a greater plan, is what I was thinking.
Right.
But
Well, when Val says that Zemo took care of them, so she didn't have to, that's when I was like, oh, so Zemo did kill them. But we don't know.
see, and I still think I don't know. I think that we think that they're. I think that we're made to believe that they're dead. That's what I
Sure.
think. But we'll see. We'll see because who knows what Val has up her sleeve. And as we saw, John Walker is still in the mix. I was like, gosh, if we could kill anyone, I thought it would be him. But um,
I
it's
did not
not. Here he
expect him to
is.
survive. I did not think that we would still see him by the end.
Same. And look, here we are. He's still alive. He's got a brand new black suit. And he is 100% in bed with Val and super excited. He and his wife are super excited because he's back in action. And I'm like, girl, you are married to a sociopath also. But sure. I
Yeah.
mean, like, you're married to someone who at first was used as a weapon of the state, essentially, and now has turned into a sociopath. And is just like, oh, I can kill because I determine the law and, I do what I want. And you're excited? I was like, oh, that's new. Okay, well, here we are.
All right. Well, it seems like it's time to rate this episode, and I guess kind of the series, but mostly the episode. Where do you stand on this on a scale from poop to kittens?
Yeah, so I'm going to say this episode was actually a kitten because we finally got to where we needed to be in terms of the entire series. I'm going to say the whole series for me as a whole is still definitely a spoon leaning towards poop because it literally took the entire series to get here. And I don't think that was necessary at all. I think we could have gotten there much sooner and we could have developed our characters even more. We could have developed Bucky loads more because, again, very first episode, we see him with his friend, and it's not until the end that we know. Well, I knew that he killed the son, but it's not until the end that he admits that he kills the son. So I'm
Right.
like, oh, okay. And then Bucky just does what? Float into the sunset, goes back to Wakanda, makes a new family with Sarah.
Right.
I mean, what does he do? We don't know because you literally don't say anything. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting. Um, I guess. So for me, it's just kind of like, but the fighting was really incredible. So shout out to that. So how about you? How are you going to rate this episode and then the series?
Oh, that's such a good question. I feel like this episode, yeah, I'm gonna give it a kitten. This episode was fun. We wrapped things up. Now it's over. So that's a kitten right there. Yeah, I like when I'm right. So I guess we're gonna go with that. I think the series as a whole, I'm gonna give a spoon as well. It wasn't my favorite. It was interesting. I was there. I saw it. That's how I feel about it. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at for that one. Um, no predictions, I guess, for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Since do we predict a season 2? Do you predict a season 2, KB?
I I mean,
Great.
honestly, I don't want a season two, so maybe I'll say that. I don't want it. So maybe that's where we start. I'm okay without a season two. I think the idea is let's just fold it right on into Captain America 4. Like, let's go whatever this film is going to be about. I still don't understand what this film is going to be about, quite frankly. I, of course, will watch it and will support the new, Black Captain America. However, I don't think we need a season two, especially not of Captain America and the Winter Soldier, particularly if we're not going to have no real Winter Soldier content. Like, I mean,
Right.
because we didn't in this one. So, what about you? Season two, do you want one? What do you think will happen in the
No.
film?
I agree with you. I do not want a second season of this. I would be yeah, I'm interested in the Captain America movie because it feels like we'll probably have another Captain America movie, which is cool, and I'm down with that. And I assume that this friendship, I just rewatched Endgame, or at least the end of Endgame. And there's really this moment where Wanda and Falcon and Winter Soldier are all standing there at the funeral, and they're all standing together. And then like there's a nice little like shoulder punch, and I was like, oh, like they all know that they're getting shows, and I was like, okay, now I see this friendship. So I mean, I assume that Winter Soldier has always been tied to Captain America, so I assume we'll see him in the movies, and that's all we need. We do not need another season of this.
That was so firm. We do not need.
We do not need it.
Well, I am not mad. All right, so moving on. Next, let's dive into Invincible. Here's the quick cap for episode 7. We need to talk. Feeling lost and confused, Mark looks for advice from Eve. At the same time, everyone's looking for him. That is the most ominous, everyone's looking for him, but it was so true. I've never heard Where's Mark more in a single episode of television. So how do you feel about this episode? How did you feel?
I loved this episode. I was so like pulled into it that I was shouting at the TV, but why? So the whole episode is Omni-Man being like, I need to tell Mark. Okay, but tell us. Tell us. We just want to know why. We like it feels like all of the questions that we've been asking. What did Cecil want with, or what did that guy from the upstate university, what did that tie into everything? How did that tie in? And then we saw how it tied in. We saw that Cecil, took those and exactly direct relation. He learned what this guy did and brought him on, and they made soldiers into killing machines that have no brains. Like, great. It tied in beautifully. The story of the teen team, and their bonding tied in beautifully. What was going on with Robot tied in beautifully. I loved everything. The only thing I want to know now is why. What about you?
Why? So I told you last week when they were at the university, because you were like, why? This doesn't make sense. And I said, hold on. I said, I feel like this is intentional. I feel like everything is purposefully layered in and sprinkled in because it's going to a greater cause. And so we see that Cecil 1000% is committed to the country. He is not committed to anyone else. He essentially blew up their neighborhood just to catch Omni-Man. Poor Bobby is dead, dead. Bobby's gone. They brought back the Immortal, the freaking twins, which shout out to them because they're actually brilliant and I enjoy them and they're funny. They brought back the Immortal, and then the Immortal dies again. And also, the Immortal was Abraham Lincoln? Wild. But anyway, I was like, what is happening in this montage of the Immortal's life? But anyway, the Immortal is dead again at the hands of who? Omni-Man. And Mark finally sees, oh shit, my dad is a sociopath. Like, it finally is like, finally. Now, we still don't know why. But I appreciate that Debbie is still BA, and she's like, get out of my house. Mm-hmm. And he does, which is surprising to me because I thought he was going to kill her. In that moment that she challenges him, I was like, he's going to kill her. But the only reason why I don't think he does is because I do genuinely think that he loves her. Mm-hmm. And because she is the mother of his child. I think those are the only two reasons why he has not killed her, because she challenges him in ways that he does clearly not like to be challenged. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad, Mark and Amber broke up, but I do love that our girl was like, of course I know you're a superhero, you dummy. I've been
yes.
I have been waiting for you to tell me that. And she's like, but it's too late, and now we have to break up.
That said, I will say this. I agree with you. I like that she knew. I think that her whole thing about being like, you left us during the fight when she saw that it was him, that is the only...
It's unreasonable.
Everything else about her argument is reasonable. That he did blow her off. He didn't tell her early enough. He did, he was a bad boyfriend. But just in that moment where she was like, but you left, but you knew that he didn't.
Yeah, I think that that's wildly unreasonable. And also, I still think, like, I'm fine with her breaking up with him because it won't work, because she will not understand his lifestyle when it comes down to it fundamentally. But I think that it was unreasonable for her not to hear him out, because Mark is new to being a superhero. I think if she would have understood that, like, he became a superhero, like, right when they met, he's still just trying to navigate what that even means, which is why he's doing such a terrible job at juggling being a student, a boyfriend, a superhero, because he doesn't understand.
Right.
But she refused to even listen to anything, and I thought, well, that's kind of unreasonable. Like, even in a breakup scenario where, like, hey, we know this is not going to progress any further in a, you know, relationship, I still care about you from a platonic standpoint. I want you to live. So, like, which you might not live because you're a superhero, and that's, you know, like, as we found, Mark's getting his behind kicked left and right 24/7.
Right.
So I just feel like, hear him out. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean you have to get back with him, but just hear him out so they can understand where he's coming from. And then if you guys decide, like, hey, but we can still be friends in the future, you'll have a better understanding of what that looks like. But I felt like she was just kind of like, what? No. It's like, yes, girl, he can be a bad boyfriend and you can say no, but also you could just be like, but are you all right though? Because it's a lot to manage. Like, I don't know. At least I feel like it's a lot to manage. And if I at least cared about you at one point in my life, I don't want you to die. I mean, that's just not how I operate. So it's kind of like, girl, what? But here we are. Went to Eve, and I love that Eve was like, yeah, you're actually a terrible boyfriend, and I actually thought that you would figure that out on your own.
Yeah.
Like, Mark's getting it from every side where people are like, yeah, you're awful, and I thought you would have figured that out. Like, even his best friend, William, was like, yeah, you're terrible, and I thought you would have figured that out. And so Mark's like, why is no one telling me what I want to hear? And it's like, well, the truth hurts, buddy. So here we are. But yeah, I loved everything about this episode. Robot, the one thing, though, is creepy. Robot used Rex's face. And I think that's creepy.
Yeah.
To make a younger version of him. And I don't know what kind of trauma that's going to bring up for Rex. Rex is still a douchebag. But I don't know, like, what that whole thing means. Because that's weird. But now, arguably, Robot is the most formidable superhero to beat, arguably. Because that chip is implanted in his brain and he can essentially move any robot at any moment. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I'm a little uncomfortable with his obsession with Monster Girl. I'm aware that she is an adult, but she is in the body of a child, and he fell in love with her. And chose to become a child. I appreciate that he was like, great, we will both be children. But if I understand correctly, he will continue to grow up and she will not.
Maybe. I don't understand the science behind what he did. And I don't also know that he will keep this form. I guess there are, like, a lot of things that are kind of unclear about that, but I will say I agree. It's wildly unclear. Like, we know that she is, I think they said 23. I think she's 23.
24,
like,
I think.
She's in her, yeah, she's in her 20s. So we know that she's an adult because she's also constantly drinking with them, and she keeps telling them, like, I understand that this form, because she takes many forms, but that form is still the form of a child. She's like, I am actually an adult. So they're constantly saying that. But it is still uncomfortable. And not only for that reason, that's one of them, but also because Robot's making a lot of decisions for this woman. And I don't like that either. Like, I don't like the aspect of him doing all of this. Like, it's very stalkerish and very kind of like it's creepy. Like,
they just met. It's been, what, a few months? And you've decided that you're in love with this child's
but you've decided,
body?
and you also have not had a conversation. And so I'm like, even just taking out the body aspect, because they are both adults, like, you know, like, in their minds, you still also have taken away her choice. Like, there are just so many different facets of it that, like, are wildly uncomfortable for me. So no, I agree. I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, no. And even she says, she's like, when she does the rundown of the list of things that he does, and she's like, oh, and we're all supposed to be okay with that? She's like, yeah, no. And he's kind of left standing there like, oh, I didn't think about it from your perspective. And I was like, she literally just read you. Like, there were
Right.
so many things on that list, and she was like, no. Like, so we'll see what that is going forward.
Yes. All
All
right.
right.
Let's rate this.
How are you rating it? Yeah, I'm like, how are you rating it? I think we are on one accord.
Kittens. Lots of kittens.
Raining. Raining it. Honestly. The finale is coming up. What are your predictions?
Oh man. That we get a Y. All I want is a Y. All I want is a Y at this point. It's been since the last 5 minutes of the first episode where I went, okay, but why? Um, and so that's all I want now is a Y. And then season 2. That's all I want is Y in season 2. I'm obsessed. I would love if what's his name? Damon Darkblood, the demon, if he comes
Makes a
back.
return?
I would love that. Yeah, I would also like the whole storyline about the bad guy who had Invincible help him and then he took over. I want that to tie back in, or come back into play, because he also
Titan.
like Titan. Yes, he had a bunch of villains at his disposal that I would love to see again. What about you?
That are clearly controlled by Cecil. Like, I feel like everyone's being played by Cecil at this point. So yeah, I think an Omni Man Invincible showdown, which is what Cecil, was trying to explain to Debbie, was that, hey, I really feel like the only way that we can truly stop Omni Man is by using Mark. And she's firmly against it, which makes sense because Mark is her child. Right. And also still a child, technically. Like, he's a teenager, but he's also still a child, so both of those things.
Yeah.
Not just her child, but an actual child, and Omni-Man is an actual sociopath, but I think they're still going to come head-to-head. I do think we're going to get a Y, but I don't think Mark will care, because Mark is very black and white, and a lot of that has to do with him being a child. And I'm not saying he's not justified, because Omni-Man is still a sociopath, but I do think that there are a lot of different layers that come with being a superhero. And there are a lot of different colors. And you have to make a lot of tough decisions. And right now, Mark is just so focused on things being black and white that he is missing that lesson, so to speak. So, I think we'll see more of that. Obviously, everyone, and I do mean everyone, is obsessed with Invincible. So we will have multiple seasons for a very long time. There's no doubt in my mind, because I don't know a single person who doesn't enjoy it. Like, not a single person. So here we are, but I'm excited to see what this Friday holds for the finale. And I guess one thing I know will happen is that it will be shocking.
Yes. Absolutely.
Every episode is shocking.
Absolutely. All right. Lastly, we have Black Lightning. Here is the quick up for the 9th episode, the Book of Ruin, Chapter 4, Lighting, I believe is what it's pronounced. Gamby warns the Pierce family of a possible crisis looming.
We can tell who wrote, these last few ones, I feel. Like, somebody was tired and they were just like, listen, this is what happened.
What did you think of this episode?
It was fine. Yeah, it was fine. I think we have been building up for a long time to the loss of powers of the Pierce. Like, they've been teasing it, and we've kind of seen some wankiness happening with powers all over the city. And so I like the idea of a meta who can stop powers, and I like the idea of the Pierces being powerless, and having to look for other resources in order to stop, Tobias. That being said, I still literally wish Tobias was already dead and we had a new threat and villain to deal with. But this episode was still interesting to me. I still really like that we are tying in Painkiller, because what it feels like to me is the idea and what's going to happen is that I think in their minds it'll be like a fresh continuation of the same story, if that makes sense, which I don't think a lot of shows get the opportunity to do, or rather, I don't think they use that opportunity when they have a backdoor pilot. But I appreciate that he is so woven into these final episodes of the series that it'll be easy to continue and follow on should that painkiller pilot get picked up to series. And I like that. I'm actually really enjoying that because he does know the Pierce family very well. He does have a vendetta against Tobias. It actually makes sense that he would be the Link. And so that's good. And this is coworker dying though. Dang, she like asked him to do this favor, and I was like, as soon as he showed up in that hoodie, I was like, he's probably gonna die. And well,
you're so funny.
And then of course, Lynn is arrested. So that was really hard to watch.
Yes.
I think that she did like a great job in the scene, but it was really hard to watch. So
yeah, I'm with you on some of these things. I think it's interesting to tie in this painkiller thing and have it be a continuation. I think that's an interesting choice. Personally, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need him. He can have his own spinoff. So that's where I stand on that. But I did like that they course corrected what we had complained about with his two sides, and done it where like he talks to his reflection. Like I appreciate that, rather than us going to that dojo and having them debate. I appreciate this fix. Lynn getting arrested, that was interesting and fascinating. I think the JJ situation was interesting. I was so bored until the last 2 minutes when all of their powers disappeared, and I went, now I'm in. And then the episode ended.
Well, Jim fell out the sky again, and I was like, dang. I mean, like...
I can't believe she went
she's
up.
Like always in the sky, and things are happening. Like, I mean, last time she evaporated into, like, a star, I guess. Or something. I don't know. But this time, I mean, the way she just fell, I was like, dang. And then I kept thinking, though, my one point of contention was like, Anissa, girl, if you don't just move from this car, like, at some point your powers are not working, so just move.
Move.
Like, she was still standing there, and I was like, okay, girl, but you could just move your actual body. Like, you just don't have to stand here and get hit by a car. So I'm hoping that's what she did, using that good old fashioned common sense. But, yeah, hey. We'll see what happens. I am curious because Gambi caught it like too late. Like Jefferson's in the middle of a fight and and Gambi's like, oh. And then next thing we know, like JJ's falling out the sky. So, yeah.
Yeah, her going up, I was like, I thought we already stopped doing this. Like, I thought...
No,
I know.
We did not. Because she didn't learn a lesson. But also, technically... she's like a new person in her mind. You know what I mean? And so, maybe she just wanted to experience it in this new form. Who knows? And also, she's a child, so she doesn't listen.
That's true. But I love the moment where when she's getting taken and they were like, she got taller. As though that's a thing. Like, okay.
Like, this one looks different. It's like, okay. Also, she is significantly taller.
Yeah,
so,
no,
like,
for sure.
An actress.
I love that they keep bringing it up. It's so good. All right, let's rate this episode. Where do you stand on this one?
Well, it actually was a kitten for me. I actually pretty much enjoyed it. I like the painkiller tie-in, like I said. I like the loss of their powers. I even like where this story arc is going with Lynn. My only point of contention will always be Tobias, and not because of the actor. Marvin is fantastic, like as a human being. And as an actor, it's literally just because I'm tired of this storyline with him. And then also he brings up something this episode where he says, oh my gosh, now Jefferson will know loss. And I thought he meant death by loss, but really he just meant the loss of the powers and Lynn being in prison. I was like, so nobody's gonna die? Oh, okay. I mean, like, I just assumed he meant death since Jefferson took someone away from him in the form of death. I thought it was going to be an eye for an eye, but it wasn't. So I was confused.
But, yeah, I'm...
How do you feel?
I'm gonna poop.
Oh, wow.
I was so bored into the last 2 minutes. Genuinely, I was like forcing myself to sit through this episode. The last 2 minutes where their powers were gone, I was like, oh, interesting. We've been building towards this. We've been talking about someone who negates their powers. Like, fascinating. We know that JJ is unstable. Like, stuff is going on. I'm into this. But that was the only thing this episode that was really exciting to me. And I'm sad to say it.
All right. So, no preview for the next episode, but what are you anticipating moving forward? We're just going to assume next week is new. Who knows? But the next new episode, what do you anticipate?
I think we're gonna get to see the Pierce family have to try to fight without powers, and I think that's gonna be interesting because they all rely on their abilities so much.
Yep,
Yeah.
same. And I can't wait to see that. It's a new facet for the show. And I wonder how, because the stunt choreography when it comes to Painkiller is still next level.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how more fight choreography will play into the Pierce family sans powers. And seeing that and what it looks like. And then also, unfortunately, we're going to see Lynn in prison. And so I'm curious to kind of see what that does. We know she's been on edge lately, and she was already on edge for her research being taken away. Due to the FBI taking that and everything that's going on with Jefferson and that fraud situation. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see. But yeah, let's talk about performers of the week.
Absolutely. Who do you have this week?
So I'm going to go with Christine Adams as Dr. Lynn Stewart. I think it was so tough to watch, but I think she did a really great job just kind of portraying everything that's going on with Lynn right now. And Lynn's in a very tough spot, and it is very hard to watch. But I think Christine did a great job. What about you? Who's your performer of the week?
This week I'm going with Eliza Helm, who played young Cat Grant, CJ Grant, because as you were saying earlier, she really did feel like a young Callista Flockhart. Like she really got the mannerisms and the voice. She did a really amazing job. So she's my performer of the week. Next up is Style Icon of the Week.
Who you got? Who you got for style?
I loved Nia's prom dress, especially when they were like, "This is not
the very first one when they first show up, like when they first pop on the scene." That one.
It looked like a jellyfish. It had like the parts that it was like if you mixed Ursula and a jellyfish. It was really cute and I liked it. It had like a sweetheart neckline and there was a hat piece, and I'm a big Ursula fan, and so it was very fun for me. I also think the outfits for young Cat Grant were great, but like Nia's prom dress was there, and I felt like they wanted us to say that the style icon this week was going to be Anissa's new suit, and I'm not into it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So I felt like I knew you were going to go prom dress because I feel like that's very much your style. So I feel like yes. My honorable mention was going to go to Anissa Sue because I actually really, really dug it. But my first choice, hands down, is going to go to Sharon's bell-bottom suit and the post-credit scene. Like, it's one thing from the top up that we see when she's having the debrief with the federal agents. And you're like, okay, regular suit. It's not until she's walking down those stairs. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love a good bell-bottom pant. And I was like, girl, this suit just became next level with those pants alone. I was like, yes. And she truly felt like the power broker queen in that suit to me. And I was like, absolutely, I'm into it. I love everything about this. So yes. All right, finally, we're at the end. WTF or OMG moment of the week?
Oh, that's such a hard one.
For me, it's going to be when all the Pierces lost their powers. Like, seeing JJ fall out of the sky, I was like, woo. That was probably like, oh no, girl, like, you are in trouble. Because truly, nothing can save her. Like, I don't foresee this going well at all. Because she's crashing quite fast. Yeah. And so that for me was kind of like I wasn't shocked that Carly was going to die because they kept mentioning it. And I guess I was shocked that Lynn was sent to jail. So yes. But those two, I guess my WTF OMGs are going to stay in the Black Lightning family. Because this week, everything else, made sense. And I wasn't like 100% like, oh. Even actually, that's not true. When Omni Man pulled apart the Immortal's body, that also was
yeah. You've got a lot this week. I think Lynn going to jail, I definitely was like, did I miss something? So that was definitely a OMG WTF moment. I also think Sharon shooting Carly was a surprise for me.
Really? Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, I wasn't surprised, but I could see it.
yeah. But yeah, also them losing their powers was less. It was not. That was not a surprise for me. I was like, we've been building to this. Let's get there.
We have. I
Um,
think just the shocking part for me was when she was falling out of the air.
yeah,
Like I think the timing of it was like,
I
oh
love the way
no.
they did it. It was really nicely done. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really done well for sure.
Well,
Well, that's it.
that is it for us here at Super Lady Hero Hour. We have a new Twitter account where you can check out all superhero things at Super Lady Hero. But until next week, when we will be back for more episodes, including the Invincible finale. Until then, KB, where are you and what are you up to these days?
Well, definitely follow me at the Lady KB. That's TheLadyKayB, but only after you follow our new Twitter account at Super Lady Hero. And you can catch us back here next Wednesday live at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, chatting about all things superhero news. Also, next week, we are going to have a bit of a special episode next Friday. So, Jupiter's Legacy, which is the brand new Netflix comic book series show, is going to premiere. And next Friday, we are going to give you all of our thoughts on the entire series. So, stick around for that. And, just check out social media for any other articles and interviews you may see coming for me. So, Yell, until next Wednesday, where can everyone find you and what will you be up to?
So tomorrow night, Thursday, I'm doing a very special Drink or Dare stream for the Super Trashed TV. So you can check that out on my Twitch channel because I will be hosting the channel is twitch.tv/YelTeagle. I'm everywhere at YelTeagle. That is YaelTygiel. And this Sunday on Fanversation for Law and Order S Review, we have a very special guest. Sarah Storm is joining us to discuss all of the episodes with her character Bronwyn. And if you're an SVU fan and you heard the name Bronwyn, you know what that means. If not, don't worry about it. That is it for the stream, and we will see you next week for our regular show and a special Jupiter's Legacy special. Bye, everybody.